So welcome everyone from wherever in the world you're joining to this third Thursday. Here in the United States, it's evening, and we are really thrilled to see so many excited people to come and learn. In Lake County, Illinois, we have the most lakes of anywhere in our state. It's our namesake, right? Lake County. And yet greater than 70% of our lakes are impaired. And about a year ago, I learned that there was no magic lake fairy that was taking care of them. It's not built infrastructure, right? And our lakes really need committed volunteers, shepherds such as ourselves, to learn about lake quality, learn how monitoring and remediation opportunities can help improve challenges. And we're really excited to be hearing from two speakers or three speakers tonight about some case studies, because all of us are here. We care about a lake. Our lake perhaps is facing some challenges, and we want to know what we can do, hopefully within our budget, within our energy, to try to make things better. So you're at the right place. Lake County Lake Lovers is a group. It's a nonprofit of committed volunteers where we don't just want to measure for the benefit of measuring. It's fun, perhaps, but we really want to use those measurements to influence action, ideally the best action, and then use the measurements to tell stories so that other lakes can benefit, right? So that we lift all boats together. So that's our mission at Lake County Lake Lovers, and we would love to have you join whatever piece of this you would like. And of course, we continue to offer monthly free webinars such as this, where we share knowledge. This pilot lake monitoring program that we were talking about just a minute ago, I know that's not on the recording, but tomorrow, February 21st, is our deadline for lakes to apply. We're picking perhaps 5 lakes, maybe 6, maybe 4, whatever we think we can support for monitoring from ideally March through October, to generate high quality data to help homeowners associations influence the best action, to keep monitoring after that action, so we then can make all of this data visible and public, ideally show trend lines, and then roll those up into stories. So stay tuned. March 3rd, we're committed to releasing a press release of our winning lakes. Thank you to any tech team members who have said yes to really learning how to use this great equipment that we received from Xylem. And thank you for your interest in our lakes and making them better. So I should just have probably said I'm Becky Saul. I'm one of the co-chairs, and helping people make impactful difference through their volunteer time and energy and skills is something that really brings me joy. I've had a lot of fun getting to know people. I am the least knowledgeable about lakes and monitoring, but I do love environmental sustainability work, so I'm learning from all of you. So with that, I'll turn it back over to Mary to introduce our first speaker.
Yeah, thank you so much, Becky. And before we do, I just want to share a brief overview on why we're here today, because we really do have a tremendous opportunity here to influence lakes. And you each received or saw this invitation to call all lake lovers together, because we actually formed Lake County Lake Lovers because of the solutions you're going to hear about tonight. And many people said, why can't you do anything about our lakes as Global Waterworks? We said, well, we've heard about the nutrient issues that the lake face, and they just keep piling up. So we asked all of you to come tonight so that you can actually learn about the process of eutrophication. Many of you already know that, but how do we move from monitoring to nutrient management and hopefully eradication of some of the muck and the algae problems that cause beach closures or cause health problems for us? And this information is in the community. Whenever we have an event, we do store all the information in the community, and you can also post to the community and find things or ask questions. But how we got here is, imagine my hallway in my home. If I hadn't swept anything out for 50 years, all of the stuff piles up in the bottom, the algae grows and dies, and inevitably you fill in through eutrophication that lake with excess nutrients and sediment that goes to the bottom that uses up the oxygen. We're going to hear a little bit about that tonight, but just in the interest of time, I've asked our speakers tonight to focus on basically how they got into this space, because we do have this background on the nutrient accumulation and the treatments, and they have specific success stories that they're going to share to show you the way bio-dredging can actually use natural ingredients to accelerate the digestion of the muck on the bottom. And we work closely with Wayne Carmichael, introduced by Dave Shackleton here in the program, who has been the leading researcher on cyanobacteria. And he shares in our community how we can move from monitoring to actually eradication and management of cyanobacteria and algae. So that's what we're going to talk about today. I just wanted to give that context. And we have three speakers, all of whom are just excellent in their field. And what they're going to share is a 10-minute overview of how they got into the field and the process that they use to treat, and then 1 to 3 case studies quickly, and then share what it looks like to monitor and show results and how they determined that treatment method would work through the parameters that they looked at in their management. So that's a lot to cover, but then we have some time for questions. And so Becky has a beautiful clock in the background there, and she has a timer. I've found that the meetings go so much better when I have a timer right there that keeps me on track and sort of energizes everyone. So at the 8-minute mark, she's going to set these presentations, and it'll just ding at the 8-minute mark. You'll have 2 more minutes if you need them, but we know you also desire questions from the field. So we're just very appreciative and to have Arun Kumar Sridharan kicking us off. He is with Nualgi, a group that I met through the World of Water Action Forum in India. And so Arun, are you set to go?
Yes.
Yes, and he'll provide some great background on how he got into this field and has traversed both the US and India. And so take it away, Arun. Thank you.
Can you see my screen?
Yes, perfect.
Yeah, great. Good evening, everyone. My name is Arun, and I am the vice president at a company called Nualgi Nanobiotech in Bangalore, India. I've been at this company for a few years. Basically, I have been into sustainability and environment throughout my career. I did my undergraduate years at Brandeis University, where I spent some time doing waste recycling, and did some interns at NASA at their Center for Oceanography in Biloxi, Mississippi. So that's where I really got into the water space to start with. And then I did graduate school at Stanford. I worked on lasers for air, wind measurements, and ozone in the atmosphere. Then I spent some years in GE working on emission sensors for their power plants. And then I got back into the water space at a renewable energy company called SunEdison, looking at solar water pumps and the problems of farmers that they face in India. And then in the last few years, I've been working directly in the water space, trying to rejuvenate water bodies, both small and large, in different countries, and really working on both the water and sustainable agriculture and through our nanotechnology products. So we're trying to get farmers to get away from fertilizers and pesticides, and clean up the waters as well. So I sort of feel like my career has been full circle the last 3 decades or so. So I'm going to go to the next slide. Let me know if you can see it. Yeah. So what do? We work on a low-cost remediation approach for polluted water bodies of all kinds and all sizes, and stationary or flowing. We have a patented nanotechnology solution that comes in a liquid form in 1-liter bottles. It consists of silica, macro, micro, and trace nutrients. These minerals are basically diluted in a big tank of water and simply sprayed onto the water bodies that we wish to fertilize. In the presence of natural light or bulbs and dissolved carbon dioxide, we are essentially accelerating the growth of a native microscopic plant called Diatoms. these diatoms grow by absorbing all the minerals that are there in the water: nitrogen compounds, phosphorus, potassium, sulfur, sodium, amorphous silica. So the diatom grows by absorbing all the things in its environment, and it produces oxygen through photosynthesis, and it also gets absorbed into the aquatic food chain. So it gets absorbed by zooplankton, and the zooplankton get absorbed. So this is the natural process that happens, and there are a number of things that one can visibly see in lakes once you fertilize the water bodies with these nutrients. For example, you'll first see dissolved oxygen levels go up, and this you'll first see it going up in the surface, but progressively you'll start seeing it go up as low as the sediment as well. So at all levels, you will be able to see dissolved oxygen levels go up. And as the anaerobic bacteria diminish, the smell is eliminated. And because the nutrients have now been stolen by diatoms, so to speak, you have reduced algal blooms, including toxic cyanobacteria. You have improved water clarity and biodiversity. The high oxygen levels promote the growth of aerobic bacteria, which break down the suspended organics and the sludge at the lake bottom. So as a result of this, you're able to totally really improve the water quality and at a very low cost, because there's no costs associated with mechanical equipment, electricity, piping to really implement the solution. So all of those can be used, but they're not needed. So all you have to do is simply find a way to get the product onto the water. So it can be done with boats. It can be done by just walking around the periphery of the lake. It can also be done by drones. So I'm just going to show you a few slides just to show some of our results. This is a test that we did at Longboat Key in Florida a few years ago, where over a period of 6 weeks, we were really able to clean up this canal flowing through the Longboat Key in Sarasota. I'm going to show you. I'm going to quickly flip through the pictures, and then we can address them more in detail afterwards to really understand quantitatively. We did a lake in Dubai filled with all kinds of excess nutrients and water plant growth. We were able to fertilize the water body and improve the clarity of this lake tremendously. So these are two lakes that we did in different parts of the world. Coming back closer to India, where the company is based, we've done many more lakes in India. This is an example of a highly eutrophied lake with high nutrient levels. This showing you some before and after pictures. This was achieved in just 8 to 10 days. We actually we fertilized the water body, and we also put bulbs around the perimeter to accelerate the photosynthetic effect. It's not required, but we did it just to accelerate things. And we were able to show more than 50% reduction in the BOD, COD, very high increases in dissolved oxygen from 0.7 to 7.9. So we were really able to demonstrate this, and this was sustained after the initial period as well. We did 193 million liter per day drain in the city of Luxor in Uttarakhand, India, which is very close to the origin of the Ganges River. So there's a lot of pollution that enters the Ganges after the Luxor drain. So this was a 193 million liter per day drain. And this was a 16-kilometer long drain in which all sorts of pollutants were entering. We were able to really show about 86% reduction in the BOD, 91% reduction in the COD, TSS, show that this was happening while the dissolved oxygen was going up. So we were able to generate so much excess oxygen naturally that there was enough left over to measure, even after all the organics were broken down. The fecal coliforms disappeared completely, almost, because of the growth in diatoms and zooplankton. The zooplankton is a filter feeder species that absorbs all the pathogenic bacteria and the fecal coliforms. This is an example of treatment in an STP. We had 5 different STP is what we call a wet wastewater collection, wastewater treatment plant in the US, I think. We simply diluted our product into a tank and dosed it in the collection tank. We were able to, I'm not going to go through it very slowly here, but we were able to show that by dosing Nualgi, we were able to reduce many, many parameters, the BOD, COD, ammonia, oil and grease, phosphates, TSS, fecal coliforms, total phosphorus, improved dissolved oxygen, reduced nitrogen. So the one parameter that we don't touch is typically TDS. TDS is not affected through our process, but we were able to show dramatic improvements in all these parameters with reduced need for aeration. So mechanical aeration. So instead of running aerators 24 hours a day, we were able to reduce the usage of aerators to about 5 to 6 hours a day. And we believe it's possible to go further down. We just haven't done those trials and optimized the dosing for achieving bioremediation of wastewater with nearly 0% aeration, mechanical aeration.
And Arun, I just want to alert you, you've got just under 2 minutes left.
Yep. So we were able to meet all the Pollution Control Board standards in India as a result of this trial. So yeah. So as far as pilot possibilities in the United States, we would love to collaborate with you and see how we can contribute to the remediation of lakes there. We would like to look at lakes that have excessive organic and inorganic nutrients from runoffs, both from farms and from just the environment, and also any sort of animal breeding farms where there may be a lot of runoffs. Lakes with a lot of recurrent algal blooms, lakes with smell, mosquitoes, eutrophic conditions. The lakes that we can treat have really no bound. 1 to 100 acres would be a good start. The depth can be 0 to 15 meters. We've seen that diatoms survive even at very low depths. And so we're confident that we'll be able to stimulate the growth of diatoms throughout the water column with this solution and accelerate the bioremediation of the water body. We can also look at canals, rivers, and flow rates with flow rates of 0 to 50 million gallons per day. Look at wastewater treatment plants as well, handling city sewage and farm runoffs. We can improve the processing time and improve phosphorus reduction in a very natural way for waters coming out of these plants. While we do these remediation experiments, we track the dissolved oxygen, chlorophyll A and C, look at BOD, COD, and the different nutrients. And we look at it weekly, daily, and monthly, depending on the type of water body. Thank you.
Nice job. Perfect.
Yes.
Yeah.
So Arun, thank you very much. And Becky, great timing job. I think it does energize things to have us on a timer. So everyone's seen Arun's story. We want to move on to Jennifer Biancalana, who is with Tigris, who's going to share 2 examples of how to deal with both muck and phosphorus. But Jennifer, we're delighted to have you here, and just look forward to your presentation. I think Arun's taking his. If you can stop sharing, Arun, that would be great. And very nicely organized, Arun. So thank you for honoring the time and providing your knowledge. Over to you, Jennifer.
Perfect. Well, first off, thank you for having me. As Mary introduced, I'm Jennifer Biancalana. I'm with Tigris Aquatic Services. And we'll go through some information here. A little bit about Tigris. We are a surface water management company. We focus on large lake pond management, a little bit of stormwater, fountains, aeration, dredging, shoreline erosion, things like that. We do have a national presence, currently have a little over 150 employees across 12 states, and we have 21 offices. A little bit about myself. I've been in the industry since 2004, right out of school. My background, I thought I was going to be a professional golfer. That didn't happen. Here I am. So actually, I started in school. I went to Northern Illinois University. I started in the School of Kinesiology because it was a science-backed, a science based, education, and it was very accommodating for my golf schedule. So that's where it all started. And then I had a minor in biology at that time. Once I realized that I wasn't going to golf professionally, I went into more into biology, and that's where I finished. Later on, I went to Purdue University in the Watershed Academy. And then I serve on the board of directors for Illinois Lakes Management Association, Women of Aquatics, as well as a number of other organizations. You can see from my pictures there, I'm a dog mom. Thankfully, he's nice and quiet right now and on lockdown in the other room. And that's a picture of my husband and I, of course, on the water, because if there's a vacation that doesn't include water, it's not a vacation. So unlike some of the other presenters here, I am not a manufacturer of these products. However, after 21 years, I have a lot of experience using a lot of different nutrient mitigation products, muck biotics, bio-dredge products, all the products that are out there. You know, in order to make ourselves better, we have to utilize these products within our own services to, in hopes, reduce algae or reduce chemical usage in general. And so I want to talk about two different products here today. They're both products that we currently use in our service operations, and they've both proven to be very successful. The first one here is Muck Biotics, and it's made by a company called Natural Lake Biosciences. This product is designed to address muck down in the bottom of the lake. And their science says that it will help to mitigate and digest some of that muck that's down in the bottom of lakes and ponds, and will actually gain depth back in the water. So this is actually a tablet technology, and it slowly releases, it sinks down to the bottom and slowly releases down in this organic sediment layer. It establishes a healthy microbiota between the water to sediment interface, and accelerates the digestion of organic matter. Safe for fish. This product really popular for shoreline owners because it can be purchased in 30-pound bags and very easily applied right along a shoreline. And it doesn't require any type of licensing or Department of Agriculture licensing or permitting, and they're just tablets, so they can easily be sprinkled on every 3 to 4 weeks and during the warm summer months. And residents that do use it along their shoreline are encouraged to monitor the results. Because you're in a larger water body, you can't necessarily test the water, but you can certainly use a yardstick and you can test how much muck you have over time. Another product that we frequently use is a product called Eutrophication. Eutrophication combats phosphorus pollution within the water column and the sediment. Comes in different formulations depending on what you're targeting. The active ingredient is lanthanum modified bentonite, and that is mixed along with a proprietary blend of inert ingredients as well. This does get applied by certified applicators only. This can't be purchased online, can't be purchased by a homeowner. So this is a professional grade application only. Typically, if you're going to implement a Eutrophication program, you're always going to start with an assessment. You want to evaluate the historical information, water testing, water quality data, sediment testing, to determine the actual scale of management that you need. This is actually a product that can be recommended in a prescription dose. So you are dosing your water body specifically in the areas of concern. So, if you have a lake that is extremely high in phosphorus, this is the ideal solution for it. And it would be applied specific to the amount of phosphorus that you're looking to mitigate. The process is really easy. Like I said, it goes out by a professional applicator. It does come in a liquid formulation and a granular application. And so depending on how it's being applied, it could be applied subsurfacely, it could be sprayed out over a water column, or you can use a granular spreader to drop tablets out as well. Very effective in binding phosphorus. It's measured in PDUs, which is an exclusive unit of measure that this manufacturer uses. PDU standing for prescription dose unit. And each PDU will inactivate 0.1 pounds of phosphorus from a water column. So it only takes about 10 PDUs of Eutrophication to inactivate 1 pound of phosphorus rapidly and permanently. And 1 PDU is about 16 ounces. Let me move this. Oops. Sorry about that. That's what I get for hitting too many buttons. So I mentioned that Eutrophication comes in a number of different formulations. The Eutrophication I was speaking of is this Eutrophication WC. I'm not sure if you can see my cursor there. WC standing for water column. So this is a product that goes into the water and targets phosphorus simply within the water column. If you apply it at much higher rates, which is very expensive, then it's also proven to be effective in mitigating phosphorus in the sediment layer as well. However, this manufacturer also makes Eutrophication G, which is granular. This is an application that sinks right down to the bottom, and it's targeting phosphorus specifically within the sediment or within the substrate. Up here at the top is Eutrophication F. And I'm sorry I don't have a picture of this, but this is a 25-pound bag, and it has granular Eutrophication within the bag. The bag is sealed shut, and the idea is to place these bags, they're filter bags, and the idea is to place it at inlets or where water is flowing in. And the idea is that the water will flow through this bag of Eutrophication F, and it will filter the phosphorus before it enters your water body. So if you know that you have a water body that has, high flow inlets or maybe stormwater runoff, these bags can be applied to address the phosphorus before it gets into the main water body. Comes in different formulations as well, not just those F bags. It can be applied in larger inlets as well. And then Eutrophication SI, this is actually their new formulation, hasn't been released on the market yet. All I know is that it is a liquid formulation. It inactivates sediment phosphorus, and that's about all the information I have at this time, but it's supposed to be coming out later in 2025. So how do we determine which product to use and why? First of all, we always start with water and sediment testing. You have to capture data before and create a baseline before you can determine what product is best for you. And then even down the line, once you start applying these products, how are you going to measure its efficacy without knowing where you started? So water and sediment testing is everything. You'll always want to test not only the water, the sediment, but at the inlets as well. And then
Jen, you're at 1 minute left. Sorry, we missed. Okay.
got you. I got one slide. This is my last slide.
Awesome.
But the idea is to test and pinpoint those areas of concern and determine the impairments. Are we targeting phosphorus? Are we targeting nitrogen or something else? You don't want to just throw these products in your water without knowing what you're actually targeting. And you can build a specific prescription based off of the data you've collected. And again, this baseline data can be used year over year to continue that monitoring. And then, your budget plays a huge part in this. Who's making the application? Is this something that your homeowners want to do? Maybe a lake association wants to buy a large quantity of Muck biotic bags and then distribute it to residents or sell to residents. That's a great solution. And you get a discount for buying in large quantities. Or maybe you want the professionals to just come in and make the applications for you because you don't have the right people or people who are DIYers. And then is it a lake-wide application? Are we just targeting shorelines? That makes a big difference as well in terms of who's making the application, because I'm sure you're not utilizing homeowners to make lake-wide applications. You'd need a big boat and a lot of hours.
Yeah.
So that's all I have for you. I believe Mary will have a Q&A at the end here, and I'm happy to answer additional questions.
Yes, well, thank you so much, Jen. And thank you also for supporting ILMA, the Illinois Lakes Management Association. I am putting into the chat just the details on that conference coming up. And
Can I can I make a little plug?
yes, go ahead right now.
So
That'd
I
be
am on the
super.
board of directors for Illinois Lakes Management Association. That's our local our local chapter of APMS, Aquatic Plant Management Society. Our annual conference is coming up March 17th, 18th, and 19th. Technically, the conference is the 18th and 19th, and on the 17th, we're offering two workshops. And it's right here in Northbrook, Illinois this year. You know, every year we try to host it either in Northern Illinois or Southern Illinois. So please take advantage of the fact that it's just down the road in Northbrook, and we'd love to see you. And if you want to register, it's ILMA, ILMA lakes.org.
And I put it in the chat. So excellent overview and our
Thank
very
you.
own. Thank you, Jen. Paul Spiewak will be presenting with Becky Saul about the lake monitoring program, which we'll have a quick recap on. So excellent job, both Jen and Arun. And now we're going to turn it over to Dave from SIS.BIO, whose solution I heard about in India, and it is what prompted us to open Lake County Lake Lovers. But Dave, we know a lot about the eutrophication process, so we just want to hear dive in. Tell us how you got into the space and show us a few case studies and how we can measure and determine a fit.
Will do. My original studies were in the sort of medical field, pharmaceutics, pharmacology, microbiology, biochemistry, and things like that. But I got into business and spent about 15 years in new technology startups in the field of digital satellite TV, cellular telephony, and internet. And then around about 2005, I kind of took a sabbatical and left all that. And SIS.BIO needed somebody who had experience in new technology startups, but also biology and biotechnology. So that's how I got pulled into that. The problem that is often most visual in terms of organic sediment buildup are invasive weeds. And this is the sort of thing you see. Because you have that mucky sediment, the sandy bottom is covered, the indigenous plants can't grow. So milfoil, pondweed, lily pads, all these sort of things are what we tackle. The first thing you have to do is oxygenate the water. We have proprietary technology that oxygenates water from sort of top to bottom, regardless of size. We've done lakes that are 1,000 acres and over 150 feet deep. So this is all that's visible, and you can see it doesn't in any way interfere with recreational activities on the lake. The important thing with having oxygen is where the real problem is with this organic sediment is at the interface between the water and the organic sediment, because as that organic sediment decomposes, it depletes oxygen. And when the oxygen is depleted, you get more nutrient recycling and so on. So here is an example of a lake data taken from the year before. And getting back to Paul, this is taken with the same instrument you guys are going to be using. And you'll see down to about 5.5 meters, this is. You're oxygenated above 5 milligrams, and then it just plummets all the way down to 9.5, 10 meters. The following year, same time of year, so we're comparing apples with apples, we've got 5 milligrams all the way down. That's important for a number of reasons. So here is a different lake. This is in feet at the bottom. So this is the depth going horizontally. This is dissolved oxygen. You'll see we've got good dissolved oxygen until we get to about, 10, 15 feet, and then it drops right down. And where the dissolved oxygen drops, the ammonia rises, and ammonia is a perfect nutrient for cyanobacteria. And this then shows you, after the system's been installed, we've maintained oxygen above 5 all the way down to the bottom, and the ammonia is suppressed. Same applies to phosphorus, where your dissolved oxygen is insufficient, and you must measure all the way down to the bottom. Once you have the oxygen available, they've sorted that problem out. So here's an example, 9-acre lake. You can see it's topped out from start to finish, from shore to shore. We did the oxygenation. We use bathymetry because it's the only way really to measure and quantify whether you're having an impact on the sediment. So this is the bathymetry taken in 2019. The winter of 2019-2020, when we were supposed to start the program in 2020, was very mild and the weeds didn't die off. So in March, they applied a product called Procellicor, very, very effective at killing off the weeds. The problem is when you kill the weeds off, they die, go to the bottom and decompose and produce even more sediment. So we were very keen to quantify this. And I think it was about 9 weeks, 9 weeks after the Procellicor had been applied, we went and did another scan. And you'll see here that the average depth of the lake reduced by 6 inches, half a foot. That in this lake translated into 5,500 cubic meters of additional sediment that was added. Despite that, by oxygenating and then adding digestive enzymes, we were able to recover the situation by the end of that year. And by the end of the second year, the average depth had gone from 6.3 feet to 7.1 feet, which meant we'd bio-dredged away nearly 10,000 cubic meters of sediment. And there's your before and after photos. That's what it looked like from the shoreline. Sorry, I'll just go back and let that go a bit more slowly. And this is what it looks like at the shoreline. You can see the change in the vegetation and so on. Here's another one. The problem here was lily pads. So you can see from the bathymetry the change in the depth. If we look at it in cross-section, we can, again, see the before and after line. This is taken 2 years apart. The red there shows you the density of the aquatic vegetation. And you'll see all around the edges where it's bright red, it was completely filled with these lily pads, which were blocking people's access to the lake. When we installed this radar unit was right up against the edge of the lily pads, and you can see 2 years later the effect. Now, we haven't done anything to the lily pads directly. What we've done is digested the organic sediment that they are rooted in. And when that gets digested away, the lily pads float free and can't get a hold. That's an aerial shot taken from Google Earth, and you can see that house didn't have access to the lake. Here we are after 2 years of the program. This is one where we go into a bit more detail on how we quantify and measure it, because measuring it is pretty critical. Sorry, I'm just going to have to go in and take out the automated things on this, because otherwise it's just going to run away with itself. Sorry, this is Microsoft messing it around here.
You got it.
Hopefully we should be good. So there we have. Now, if you look at this, you will see from the contour, that's a 2-foot contour. That's a 1-foot contour. So what you have here is a little bit of a dip there, but lots of shallow area. If we now go back, so that was 2017 when we started. If we look there, anything less than 10 feet was basically topped out with invasive weeds growing in that muck. And that shows up in the, the weed density, the bio-vegetation. You can see that. That then is the same bathymetric scan taken in 2022, 5 years later. And you'll see it's 5 foot deep here, it's 6 foot deep there, it's 7 foot deep there. So if we look at it in cross-section, you can see the extent to which we've dredged away all that mucky organic sediment there. And again, in the weeds, you can see the improvement in the eradication of the invasive weeds there. We can drill in more detail. So if we look here, that is the extent of the 5-foot contour. So anything outside of that was basically less than 5 foot deep in 2017. And that's what it looks like overlaid over a Google Earth view. Here we are in 2022. And that, by memory, I think that more than doubled the area enclosed in the 5-foot contour. If we drill into the
We're at 2 minutes.
the detail on the bathymetry, we started off with 250,000 gallons of water in the lake. At the end of the first year, we'd increased that by 47,000 cubic yards. Second year, 107,000 cubic yards. This year, no move. That was the COVID year. We were unable to dose. But once we continued with the enzymes, we actually increased the water volume in the lake, which is actually a reservoir, by over 55%. And if you look in the very top column here, the average depth has gone from 5 feet to 7.9 feet. And and that is what the lake looks like now. And that's me done, all in good time.
Wow. Well, excellent. I think we've all been immersed here in 3 specific applications. All of the experts came well prepared to fill us in and shared some insights on the measurement. But I'm going to turn it over to Paul and then let Becky lead us through the rest of the session. But Paul, you are our water tech team leader, and your thoughts, if you have a comment for the panel of speakers or question, love to hear it.
Yes, excellent presentations by all 3. I really appreciate it and appreciate your time. On the Nualgi, I'm impressed with the fact that it's patented and that the ingredients are disclosed. And the silica, I imagine, is one of the key ingredients there to produce the diatoms. I had a question regarding a regulatory approval. Is it necessary to use the product or not? I think others might have that same question. And the trial in Sarasota, Florida is especially interesting. The other ones in the other parts of the world are less, I don't know, they're less impactful to me, I guess. Those were my thoughts on the Nualgi product. On Jennifer's presentation, I have a general doubts about bioremediation, bio-dredging in concept. It seems to me that if you dredge the muck, it's going to release the phosphorus, which could produce a HAB. Somewhere the phosphorus has to get stopped somewhere. Where does it go? It goes up the food chain. Okay, I can buy that a little bit. I really like the lanthanum product that Jennifer talked about. In fact, on our lake, I think we're considering using that. Especially the Eutrophication WC as a phosphorus interception at our inlet. I know Jennifer talked about the bags, and that one's a little bit new to me, but that would be another way to do it, as a phosphorus interception of phosphorus coming into our water body. Let's see. No permitting required on the muck biotics. A lot of those muck products, they don't disclose the ingredients, and that raises suspicion with me and others. Also at science conferences like NALMS and other organizations like that, there tend not to be too many presentations. I mean, I can't even think of any on bio-dredging. Maybe it's just missing them, but I don't think so. Let's see, with Dave Shackleton, great presentation also. I wondered about oxygenating the water alone without the enzymes. How would that compare? And I always think of enzymes as fairly fragile and requiring real specific environmental conditions, like inside of a cell at a certain pH and temperature, for that enzyme to be most active. I just think of enzymes as fragile. A lot of bio-dredging products don't disclose, if they do contain enzymes, they don't disclose which enzymes and why. I did see one product, I don't know if it's the one by Dave's company or a different one, but they had proteases in there, and I thought, I'm not clear why that would be an important enzyme. Not specific enzymes, but classes of enzymes, why they're in there, what do each of the different classes of enzymes attack. And the other thing with bio-dredging is, I'm most familiar with the lake I live on, and our muck is 15%, 15% organic, 85% inorganic. Obviously, the bio-dredging products will not do anything to the inorganic components. And I've heard it's 15% by mass, but it's much different if you compare it by volume. So those were my comments of what I gathered from the three presentations, but excellent presentations. Thank you all.
So I'd like to suggest, does everyone here know how to go to chat and write your questions in chat? So take your cursor, go down, the chat button should pop up. We've got a lot of people, and perhaps people have the same question. And we're scheduled to run, I think, 13 more minutes, right, Mary?
Yeah, I always go an extra 10 minutes for people who want to just share suggestions, but we want to wrap at the top of the hour for people who need to leave.
Exactly. So if you, I'm sure, have been holding questions for all of our great speakers, maybe just put the name of the presenter and then write your question. And then I'm going to ask Paul to skim through the chat. Sorry, my camera's falling. And kind of tee up those questions if that's possible. Sorry, I have two dogs here that are telling me it's time for dinner. And we'll see if we can use our 12 minutes remaining in a wise way. Let me see what's happening in the chat. Or I could even take some questions too.
Could I perhaps?
Maybe can I just start answering the question that I was
if you
posed
see it,
by Paul?
yeah.
Yeah, Paul, thank you very much for the feedback. We've been treating a number of lakes in the US as well in the private lakes market for the last 8 or 9 or 10 years. I'd be happy to put you in touch with customers in different parts of the country who have experienced our product. I can share with you privately a couple of studies in the US on how the product has performed in their lakes. In North America as well. So we've been selling in North America and Canada for a number of years through the private lakes market, through our distributors. And I can share with you some results from a distributor in Belgium and a study done in Australia as well. So these might be of interest to you, and perhaps we can do a deeper dive offline to discuss those lakes. As far as the regulatory concerns, as far as I know, every state in the US is different. And we would love to work with you and other people to figure out how to get it accepted into different states. I know some states have issues with phosphorus addition. One of the things that we do in our product is we do have a little bit of tiny amount of phosphorus, and that might be concern to some states. In some other states, there are no regulations about this, and it's not an issue. But we add a tiny amount of phosphorus, but in the end, we remove a whole lot more phosphorus because diatoms absorb phosphorus. So it's just something that we need to overcome from a regulatory point of view to just have studies done, have trials done, show the data, and get it accepted through the state regulatory bodies. So it's a process and we need local partners who can help us work through that in the different states.
Well, Arun is talking. I'll take one more question for Arun. Does anyone have one?
Could I perhaps answer a couple of the questions that Paul posed?
Yes, I was just going to give each speaker like maybe a couple minutes. Anything else for Arun? Then maybe we'll go to Dave. Thank you, Arun. Dave. So Dave is willing to take questions. Who's got a question for Dave? Dave, why don't you begin with what Paul commented on, and then others, if you have questions, either take off your mic or put it in the chat. Thanks.
So regard to enzymes, proteases, lipases, and so on, they all basically fall under a high category, if you want to put that, which would be hydroxylases. The reason you need proteases, some algae are actually harvested as spirulina and primarily as a protein supplement. So in that dead biomass that's sunk down to the bottom and decomposed, there's carbohydrates, there's lipids, and there are proteins. So you need a full mix of that. In terms of mass volume, the way to look at that is, as you say, typically how you measure, how they measure organic content in sediment is a mass basis. So they dry it out, weigh it. They then incinerate it to get rid of the organic matter and weigh it again. And by mass, you're probably looking at 80-20 mix in terms of the best way to think about it. If you've taken a sample, is the sand and so on is much heavier, much denser, separates far more quickly, and settles far more in a far more compact manner. So if you're measuring by mass, think of the sand as being steel ball bearings. Think of the organic matter as being styrofoam chips. We've done lots of projects, and I could send you some of the data. I think we can dig it up, where the organic content has been, as you say, 13%, 15%, 18%, and so on. And we've been able to get rid of 6 inches per year over several years, because you're working on the volume. And as you get rid of that organics, it densifies and so on, because all the foam chips, if you want to look at it that way, are got rid of. And you have the sand and the inorganics, which is what the indigenous plants prefer and what the fish prefer to spawn on. The fish don't like spawning into mucky organics.
Thank you, Dave. I'm just looking at the chat, and Jennifer's made a comment that she's going to be, I think, at ILMA, if I saw that correctly. And then there's a question from Cedar Lake, from Kurt from Cedar Lake, a question for Dave. We have 25 plus lakefront owners. What are the costs for a multi-year treatment program? And more important, how have other lakes with multiple lakefront owners funded the costs?
Okay, so the first part, it depends on the size of the lake, water volume, and depth profile, and all that sort of stuff. So obviously that varies. In terms of funding, a number of different ways. We've had quite a few HOAs and lake committees and so on that have gone pretty big fundraising drives in order to raise the funds. Some people have been able to get grants. I don't know if that's sufficient. I don't want to talk too long.
Okay. All right. Mary's made a comment. Both the manufacturer of Muck Biotics and Eutrosorb will be at ILMA. All right. Another great reason to attend the conference. So we're promoting ILMA. Let's move to Jennifer. We've got just over 5 minutes left. Questions, Jennifer? Maybe you want to begin with commenting on Paul's, and then we'll see if there's other questions in the chat.
There was one other question I saw on the chat from Roger at Loch Lomond.
Perfect.
Did you see that one?
No, go ahead and read it.
Okay, I'll just read it. Roger from Loch Lomond says, clearly we need one-to-one with these suppliers, a one-on-one conversation with these suppliers to evaluate the options. Diatoms or algae and lanthanum is rather unusual around here. What about swimming with either of these things in the lake? What about swimming, I think, is the heart of the question.
Dave, you want to comment on that? And then we'll go to Arun on swimming, and then we'll go to Jennifer. So Dave, swimming.
Swimming's not a problem at all. People, swim a boat and water ski and do everything. Everything's safe. A lot of our stuff is used in drinking water reservoirs. The enzymes and the micronutrient supplements and so on we use. No problem with that.
Arun, any concern with swimming with the treatment going on at the same time?
No, the concentration of Nualgi is tiny. Every liter of Nualgi has only 30 grams of nutrients in it. And 1 liter is required for 3 to 4 million liters of lake water. So the concentrations are just ridiculously small of our product. And besides, they get quickly absorbed by diatoms right away. So, and I think you'll not be able to even measure them even after you put it into the water body.
Okay.
And even the diatoms that grow are quickly become part of the fish and aquatic food cycle. So you'll see lots of growing fish and larger fish in lakes that we treat.
Fishermen like this. I see that. Okay, Jennifer, giving you the floor. We have our final 4-ish minutes. You want to comment on Paul's, and then we'll see if there's other questions in the chat. Sorry.
My comment to Paul was that, remember, we're the end user. We are one of the vendors that would purchase products from Arun and Dave and then make the applications for our clients. So I did mention in the chat there that both Natural Lake that makes Muck Biotics, they're sending a representative to ILMA as well as the representative from Eutrophics. They'll both be presenting case studies and data about their products. I'm not the scientist that developed those products, so I can't speak on them. I can speak of projects I've done. And like I said, we've used a number of these different nutrient mitigation products through the years. And some we've seen like noticeable effects and others we don't. So we move on and try new. So that's what I, can comment on.
Nice. Other questions for Jennifer from anyone here joining tonight? All right.
If we have time, can I just something else with all of the enzymes. When I was studying sort of biochemistry and all that sort of stuff, the lock and key method was presented as the way that drugs, a drug and a receptor or an enzyme and the substrate interacted. And, to be quite honest, as an 18-year-old, that just didn't make sense to me. It can't be a mechanical process. With the, with improvements in technology and so on in recent years, they are measuring that enzymes are able to catalyze of the order of 100,000 or more reactions per minute. And they're starting to realize that quantum biology is what it's all about. And that is what gives it the scale and the effects. And so from two things then, that this is why they are, so reactive and so powerful. On average, when they're stabilized in the product, but once you put them in, they've got a half-life of about 5 to 7 days. So 7 to 10 days as long as they are, effective. A big part of what's happening as well is if you have microbes in the sediment that are doing the digesting, they will be exuding these enzymes. So they're expending metabolic energy in order to exude the enzymes, and they are rate controlled because they'll only exude as much as can digest what they can then consume and use to proliferate and so on. By saving them the metabolic expense of producing the enzymes and accelerating that enzymatic digestion, they can then focus on consuming and clearing.
I've had the opportunity to visit a few of these different lakes and solutions, and just want to say what a pleasure it is to have solutions. And as individuals said, every lake has its own needs. And so we want you to have the opportunity to talk with the vendors. You can see how helpful they are, how immersed they are in the knowledge of their specific area. And I think too often in the lake, in industries, I came out of the tech sector and was so surprised that we didn't invite the Microsoft and the Intel to the water sector where we have these innovators. So I would just encourage you all to view vendors as your friends who want to co-collaborate, and we'll come up with a solution or we'll tell you if it doesn't work because it doesn't help them either. And so these three, I know for a long time, Jen, you're newer, but thank you so much for coming. And thank you, Becky. I think we do have this wonderful pilot, and just Paul asked if we could share who's all applied or if you know of a lake that hasn't applied. So I'm going to put down the lakes that are here. And we also put in the chat the contact information for our speakers, but feel free if you guys want to put in your contact information. So here.
Yeah, and as Mary is putting that in, I just want to, we're here to bring an opportunity for collaboration and knowledge sharing. We totally encourage you to reach out to any of these speakers. And if you know of others, we would love to invite them to a Third Thursday event because this is a great opportunity to share knowledge. And hopefully we'll be hearing stories from local lakes that perhaps have tried something and, how did it go? So anyways, We've got our upcoming meeting in March, 7 o'clock, March 20th. So please put that on your calendars. So the third Thursday of every month, we put together a great program. Mary does a wonderful job with that. And encourage you to reach out to these vendors. And as we've mentioned, we are trying to find opportunities to collaborate with local lakes that need help with monitoring. And we have applications open until tomorrow, probably at midnight, I guess, if we're being technical, Central Time. And we would love to consider your lake. So take a look at the Google form, the press release, there's an FAQ. And we're excited to make their monitoring data public so that we all can learn and follow along with the journey. So with that, let's close out tonight. It's 8:01 officially. And then if anyone would like to stay and linger, you're most welcome. Thank you, speakers, for all the time and effort you put in. It's very difficult to be in a short amount of time, and you all did a beautiful job.
Yes, could everyone open up their video so that we can get a group shot?
A group photo.
Yeah.
Love it. Love it.
You don't
Mary likes to take
mind?
pictures. Let's
Then-
try and both the camera to stay up here.
Okay, where I'm recording, so I'll be able to capture this without freeze framing. So everyone just smile wide right now.
Yay!
Smile. Okay, and we're going to go to the next screen because we have 2 screens full, which is great progress. You see, just a second. Okay, everyone in that screen, smile. Smile. You look awesome. Thank you, guys. And then, did anyone have any announcements? Thank you, Becky. Any announcements? We'll hopefully see everyone at ILMA. Yes, and we hope all of you will use the community. Lake County Lake Lovers, you can Google. It's free for anyone to join and spread the word so that we can share more of these lake plans and you can all contribute. And at the March at 10 a.m. the first Monday of every month, I do a marketing overview and teach people how to use the community. And it's a pretty intimate session right now. So I hope others will potentially join me. I'll put it in the calendar and flag it for all of you. But please reach out to us. It's a friendly environment and we all share the love of lakes and just really appreciate your work on it. So I yield.
Thank you, everyone.
Yeah. And thanks to our speakers for your great prep.
Yep, thank you.
Good to see
Thank
you,
you.
Stace. Yes, and
Thank you, everyone.
Gladys Shagamba is here from Malawi. Did everyone know the Great Lakes of Africa? Gladys, if you can use your video. She came all the way from Africa to join us today, but she's a fish
Wow.
expert in that lake where they have had such bad algae problems that they haven't been able to get fish. So they've been importing fish from China because the algae and the contaminants in Lake Malawi have been a challenge. So Gladys, I don't know if you're still with us, you're muted, but it is a global environment within Global Waterworks and just nice to see new faces, Jean and Walter and Rob. And Walter just bought a house over at Loch Lomond, a few years ago, and now has grandchildren. And it's just retired too, right? So you're committing your life to lakes.
Yes, that's correct. Just retired.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Thank
Yeah, with a dynamo wife who we have to get on the lake committee, but
Absolutely.
Wow.
they
He
have,
runs circles around me, that's for sure.
Wow.
and Walter's fire
Uh,
first responder, right?
Police officer for 40 years, yes.
Wow.
Thank you for your
Thank you for your
service.
service.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yay, retirement.
Yay.
Golly, I have to say, what time is it in Malawi? Or what time is it in India right now? If that's
It's
where you're
4
joining.
o'clock in the morning in Malawi. I think if I say to Gladys Mulibwanji, she
Wow.
may understand me if that's there's a number of different
that-
languages in
It's early morning, and in
4 o'clock.
Malawi it was supposed to be 3 a.m., but now I'm in East Africa. I'm in Nairobi, so
okay.
the meeting started at 4 a.m. Now I have to go back to sleep.
Oh, thank you for joining us in your sleep, Gladys. That is so kind. Sleep well.
Thank you.
Pretty
Thank
cool.
Good to see you. Good to
Good
see
luck
you.
with your lake and your
Bye.
fish. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. Global
It's
water
7:30 in the
protection.
morning here. Yeah.
7:30. Okay. And it's
Yeah.
8 p.m. in Chicagoland.
Okay. It's a half an
Probably
hour.
most of us are. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
Well,
Uh-huh.
on Thursday night. Yeah.
And Jean's
Paul's
new. She's
joining.
with,
Go ahead, Mary.
oh, Jean, which lake are you with?
Cedar Lake.
Cedar
Oh,
Lake.
nice. Okay. Great.
Awesome. So you guys, we have a submission from Cedar Lake. And are you working on that?
Actually, Alan worked on it. I read the draft and but he did the heavy lifting. I did the easy part.
Nice.
Awesome. Okay.
We're excited.
Good. Yeah. I think
And
everyone's represented here. And so I just say hats off to Becky and Paul for seeing us through to this wonderful opportunity of having all of the lakes tested and hopefully using the information that the speakers shared on what parameters to measure to advance us in a way that's knowledgeable and productive, showing the power of data to get somewhere.
And transparent and collaborative. So, yes.
Yeah.
All right.
And one last request, we need volunteers for our Lake Appreciation Month, which is July 17th. We're going to have a Docks of Conda celebration and have a social time on this Thursday night. So it'll be 5:30 to 8 or so, and fun. If anyone has interest or knows of people who want to be part of that social planning, I think I have Stacy volunteered. I raised her hand.
Yay. Awesome.
So, and great pitch, Becky, if anyone has ideas also for speakers for the future. But Dave and Arun are both in the community, and their information is linked to their description, but you can Google their names and find their videos on their processes. So there is additional information, and we always invite that if it's educational and not salesy. So
awesome. Great. It was a wonderful evening. And Paul, thanks for joining from Arizona.
Thank you.
And we wish you all a good day, a good evening, a good going back to sleep. And thanks for everything you all do to help your lakes get better.
Good seeing everyone.
Yes.
Thank
All right.
you. Good night.
I'll talk to Mary. Bye.
Thanks. Bye-bye.